The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy to have you on the call. It was a pleasure being in Austin with you. We had a great time there. It's a little bit cooler here in Michigan, and that's not a bad thing either. We're very excited tonight to have Dr. Kuehne on the call with us tonight. We were very impressed with his ability to teach and show people the nuts and bolts of SSA and muscle testing, and it just seemed like a great weekend. And he's on the call with us tonight because not only does he use this system, he's one of our great cheerleaders. He has been critical in contributing to core areas of Nutralysis, and we've been able to pick his brain and use his expertise in order to get this program to where it is today. So thank you, Dr. Dan, for being with us tonight. We appreciate that.
Welcome.
Tonight we're going to really answer the question, what is Nutralysis and what can it do for me? And I'm going to have Josiah start talking a little bit about what Nutralysis is.
Well, thanks, Christine. Nutralysis is a cloud-based software that enables doctors to organize the nutrition visit so that nothing is missed. What I mean by that is you can access Nutralysis from any device. It's really lives in the cloud. It's an internet-based app, so you can get to it from any device, anywhere on planet Earth that you have internet. Nutralysis helps make sure the doctor organizes a nutrition visit by providing multiple case history templates, multiple muscle templates, and not only system strength analysis, which Dr. Kuehne taught incredibly well this weekend, but also nutrition response testing, NET, MST, and more. And of course, the critically important area for our patients is creating a nutrition schedule that they can take home with them. And Nutralysis guides you through doing the muscle testing as well. I'm sorry, doing the nutrition schedule as well. And speaking of system strength analysis, we're going to jump into take a look at the patient file. And
the patient file is set up in such a way that the doctor can see the patient's information, see their schedule, see their symptom trends, whether there's been change over time, and help direct the flow of the visit by knowing what's gone on before. If you'll take a look on the right-hand side of the page, symptom trends are developed when the detailed history is filled out. And each time the detailed history is filled out, it shows whether there's been change over time. This form can actually be printed out and given to patients to take home. And we're finding that it has a great effect on family members. When they see that they were slow to start in the morning and that's improving, that they had splitting headaches and they're gone, family members begin to say, well, maybe there is something to this nutrition, and begin to become more interested in taking their own health on.
in fact, Christine, here's a copy of what they would look like, the different exam templates that we have. I just want to show everybody this here real quick. And speaking of the detailed history, this is that detailed history that we were referring to, the detailed history 7-pillar musculoskeletal. And we tell everybody this whenever we show them this, but this detailed history was created based on Dr. White's work from the 7 pillars, but it was actually authored and edited by Dr. Dan Kuehne into a form that works well for both Nutralysis and the patient, as well as the practitioners.
One of the things that we're really pleased about is that this detailed history can actually be emailed to the patient. The patient can fill it out at home just by clicking this button, and then it will populate the file so that when they come in for their visit, the doctor has all the results sitting in front of them. This is a great feature because the time that it takes to fill that out is done by the patient at home. It saves the patient time when he's in the doctor's office. It also saves the doctor time. So patients love this, and so do doctors and staff.
Yeah,
let me doctor get
about that.
Go ahead, doctor.
I just found this to be extremely valuable. As you can see, the questions are on here. This is actually the doctor view, but there's also a patient view. It looks even a little prettier where they easily click on mild, moderate, severe. And the feedback that I've gotten when I've shifted from paper to this is like I moved into the 21st century. You know, like literally the conversation is, you know, I like that program. It worked really well. You know, and there's a lot of data that's gathered. and there's a way to save the data if they're like, get halfway down and finish. But when we have that data gathering, what's even more important than the fact that, they did it online is next month. So next month, that data is going to be sitting over to the right. You can sort of see this if you look really closely to the compare with. It's kind of covered up on the right, but you can scroll so you would be able to see it. It's showing what was previously highlighted. So you literally can see like things that were mild, moderate, severe before, and when you come back with the patient, you're now comparing where you were to see the improvements in real time, talking with a patient. And what I found the most important piece of this thing, and it actually came up in the seminar this weekend, which is the way that Dr. White teaches. He teaches to spend the time asking each one of these questions. So he says these questions extremely fast. So you having any trouble with energy, slow to start in the morning, good energy that crashes, or you get dizzy when you stand up quickly, like that. And I feel that I would rather just let the data collection happen with the computer's software, and then me to be with the patient and say, okay, so you've been having consistently low energy. How long has that been going on for? And what's it like, and how is that affecting your quality of life? So it really shifts the appointment to be more personable and less data collection, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a great way of doing it. I never thought about it like that. Yeah. The detailed history is, and I really like how it's written because it does make it very easy for the patients to fill out as well. We've had a lot of good feedback from patients saying how easy this is to use.
Yeah, great.
And speaking of the seminar this weekend, this is the system strength analysis template and what it would look like to actually document the system strength analysis results. One thing that we're really excited about in Nutralysis is that we're tracking and doing analytics, as we talked about this weekend, of all the supplements that are added from muscle tests. And this will help doctors not only develop a clinical rationale and have a basis for their clinical rationale, the analytics, but it's really sort of an ongoing case study about all of these supplements and what's working and what's not working. It'll prompt you for ideas about what else you could try with with this problem. So trace this is an exciting area of Nutralysis here. And this is where you can see your plague of weakness positive, or in this case, a not locked, if you want to use that term. And then you select to add a supplement and the various supplement suggestions. So this is just showing you what it looks like to add a supplement. And then you can, once you select the supplement, you can configure the dosing for that supplement. And then once you've completed a nutrition, the supplement from the muscle test, the next logical thing would be to look at the patient's nutrition schedule.
And the nutrition schedule is something that has
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Sure, jump in.
Can you go back one slide, Josiah?
Sure.
You said something like, it's just a matter of fact, and it's like, this is just what it is. If the doctors are on the line, I want you to get what he actually said. This system is tracking all the doctors that are using Nutralysis and telling you, based on the doctors that are actually getting results, what are the most resulted, what is getting the effect. In other words, there was a problem in this area, we used this supplement, and the next time we did it, it came back and it was clear. So that meant that that supplement really worked. And so he's got them prioritized on here. So when something shifts, like there's a virus that goes through the area or something like that, and we find golden seals really working really well for this stomach virus, you're going to know that, Stuart and myself and the other doctors who are using this program are getting results with that, because you're going to start seeing, hey, stomach pops up and, oh, why is golden seal on the top? I wouldn't have normally thought of golden seal. Like, that's what's happening with this program. It's intelligent. It's not just, hey, a data collection thing. It's actually giving you, hey, this is what's working. So I wouldn't I know Josiah is like, it's like, well, I made it. That's really cool. You moved on. But that's very powerful, guys. I don't know who's listening, but doctors hopefully should have a big smile on their face when they hear that.
Thank you. And it's so great to have a doctor on the line with us, because you're using it, and this is what's important to you, and so that's what's going to be important to our listeners tonight. So the next slide really shows what one of the most important features of our Nutralysis system is being able to print a professional-looking nutrition schedule for your patient. Not only does it give them the dosing, when they should take it. It can also indicate if you want them to drink more water, or if you want them to use a certain diet, or if they have intolerances. All of these can be listed on their nutrition schedule. And not only that, but they get supplement information. And that's different because in the past, they were taking supplements and they could read the box, but it didn't really explain what it was for or how to use it. Now everything is in one place, and the patients love this. It's just a great tool for them.
And patients do love it, and I've had great experience talking to patients about this. One thing I wanted to note in here is I had a question from the doctor just today about being able to turn off the descriptions at the bottom just to print off quicker. You can turn these things off, the descriptions. You don't have to have these on there. And segueing into the nuts and bolts of the nutrition schedule, Dr. Kuehne, I know you were instrumental and had a lot of suggestions when we started with the nutrition schedule. Do you have anything to add about how this really impacts you as a practitioner, or anything about the nutrition schedule printout?
Sure. Well, I mean, the most obvious thing is just look at it. You remember what you used to hand out, or maybe you currently are handing out, which is the handwritten thing that they may or may not be able to completely read your handwriting, but how clean and easy this is. And oh, by the way, it's important to get that you can drop the price column on that too. I recommend dropping the price column on that because you don't really want the patients to stare in their face how much they paid for all this every single day when they're taking their supplements. So I recommend dropping it off the printout. And what we did is we have something else that's called a packing list that they can print out that at the time of service that shows all the the prices they paid and so forth. But every day when they're taking the supplements, that really is not. I wouldn't recommend that. So then the other thing is that how many times people are taking a program like this at this size, and they're like, why am I taking this Thymex? And literally they can turn the page and they can read it what the Thymex does. I mean, that is very valuable to people. And then you have that note section literally right next to it. So sometimes, like if it's a liquid, like a Mediherb liquid, I might write teaspoon in that spot because, I want them to know it's 1 teaspoon twice a day, for example. But it's the same. You might even do something like there's a certain supplement you want them to take, away from meals or something, and you can type that in there. So it's like very valuable, it's very usable, and it's very clean for the patient. And I think Josiah is going to get into this later, but you can email these to your patient too. When they lose them, they have access to the patient portal side, and you can also email them out to them. So there's a lot of really valuable things about having this way. I think the whole experience with the patient just kind of bumps up another notch because they're looking at this and feeling like, okay, this is real.
And I think that by emailing, I'm sorry, was this? No, by emailing the schedule to the patient, we find in our own office here that patients call in much less saying they've lost it or they need clarification, or so there's not as much time being doing follow-up when you email and hand them a refrigerator. We always call the refrigerator copy, and then one that will be emailed to them. You actually hear their phone ding, and they receive the email right while they're in the office. And the first time, you always get a reaction, something like, wow, that's really cool, or boy, that's something new, and they like this a lot. They like the fact that it can be emailed to them.
And speaking of emails, we actually had a question emailed into us just a few seconds ago about this. I'm going to interject it right at the screen. The email sent to patients is HIPAA compliant. Again, thanks to the input of doctors like Dr. Kuehne. In fact, I think it was you, Dr. Kuehne, who brought this up. The email sent to the patients with the nutrition schedule is HIPAA compliant because of this password box here. HIPAA compliance requires that all patient identifiable information is encrypted when sent over email. And so by putting this password in here, Nutralysis uses this to encrypt the nutrition schedule when transmitted over public email networks. So thank you for that question, and there's your answer. Speaking of things that we get, go ahead, Doc.
One more thing, on the previous page when we were talking about the nutrition schedule, I forgot to mention that there's something that Dr. White does that he's learned from his 30 years experience, and then we translated it into the program, which is, it doesn't show it here, but if there was a new supplement on the page, the border around the supplement would be very dark bold. It will be very clear, but there's no question about it, and you can see what the new supplements are. Inside your system, in the actual system itself, it's yellow. And what that does is, you know, it's not common they have reactions with patients, right? But there is possibilities of having a reaction with a patient. The first thing you want to do when you have a reaction with a patient, if they've been under care for a while, is look at the last supplements you put them on. So regardless of what order you chose to put them, because like when I reorder the schedule, that's something we haven't mentioned, I like to put the stuff in categories. Like I like to put all the hormonal stuff together, all the gut stuff together. Like my brain works better to put them in that order, and there's a way to do that that's very simple and fast where you can just drag and drop, or you can just, there's a number that you can hit on the schedule and it can move around. But it still will be highlighted right on their schedule and highlighted inside the system. So if there's ever a reaction, in moments you can look at what the new supplements are and start to like try to figure a picture out of what's going on.
That is a good point. There are several of the features that we just didn't highlight in here, but I appreciate you bringing those up. Those are good to know, and it's helpful for me to know what speaks to you and your fellow practitioners, so thank you for that. Speaking of things we send home to patients, that's not the slide I wanted, but this is the slide I wanted. This is the patient printout or the symptom trends report. And Christine, I know you had some thoughts about this. Would you tell me what you were thinking about that?
Well, I think that one of the things that we hear the most about this is that patients tend to forget their symptoms after they're gone. And when a patient comes in with splitting headaches, they forget that when they've been coming to you for a while. They forget that where they came from, because we only really care about what's happening right now in our lives. This particular symptom trends printout allows you as a practitioner to go over their history and say, look, when you came in, you were having digestive issues, fatigue, insomnia. We aren't seeing any of those now. This is great. We've cleared up this and this and this. Now we're going to continue working with your health, and we're going to start working on these areas. But if you send these home with the patients periodically, they begin to have a physical proof that this is working. And unfortunately, nutrition has always been something sort of magical to patients, like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, I'll take the doctor's word for it. This gives very concrete proof that there is change over time. And when people see change, they are encouraged to continue improving their health.
That's an excellent point. I love that this does track change over time and makes it easy to see what's improved here. Not only, and Dr. Kuehne referenced this earlier, but patients do get access to a patient portal as well. And I just wanted to take the chance to show you what it looks like from a patient's perspective. This is a view of the patient's portal for Joe Smith. You can see his current nutrition schedule. It can print off as a PDF. And the portal is also where they're able to fill out that detailed history. They receive a link to the portal in their email when you send it to them. So this is what the patient's nutrition schedule looks like on their patient portal. Jumping back inside Nutralysis into the doctor's perspective, I wanted to make mention that we also have a premium scheduling module. And appointments can be booked also on the patient portal. Patients can book their own appointments. And this is the office view of the schedule. And patients will receive automated text and email reminders before their appointments to make sure that they don't miss the appointment.
And the doctor can configure it in such a way that the patients only have certain times where they can schedule, or they may choose not to let patients schedule. They might prefer them to go through their receptionist. There's also a feature whereby you can accept or reject a patient appointment. So it's flexible. You can color code it. You can set up extra exam rooms, or if you're doing massage or something, a laser in addition to nutrition. So it's a very usable scheduling module.
I want to take this moment just to interject a procedural note. As I know one of our doctors already has on the GoToWebinar discovered that you can ask questions, and I'm glad for that. I see we have a number of other people on this webinar, and I wondered if I could ask you a favor. You could do something to help me know how I can guide this webinar better. Could you think of what is your area of difficulty in your practice right now, or what you're most hoping to have resolved, and write it in on our question box? And I'd love to see if we can find a way to map what your pain point is to how Nutralysis can help solve that. So take a moment to look at your screen, find that GoToWebinar toolbar on the left or the right, and notice the question area of that. Click on the question and box and type in your questions for us, and we'll get notified on this section here. So thanks for doing that there.
Hey,
the next thing I wanted to, yeah, go ahead, Doc.
The scheduling module, I don't know if, Christine, you mentioned the, I didn't hear you mention the reminders for the schedule. So there's, Josiah, am I right, and you now have live the email and texting ability for reminding?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
And right now the system is set up to send out an email 24 hours before the visit and a text 2 hours before the visit. So, yeah. And that is configurable in the doctor's office, and they can change it as they please.
That's absolutely correct.
And I find that very valuable for patients, especially the text 2 hours before. Like, I can't tell you the number of patients that have come in and said, you know, thanks for that text. You know, so it's sometimes they're in the middle of the day, they knew they had an appointment, but that text really makes a difference.
Oh, that's good to hear. We like to hear things like that. Dr. Dan?
Speaking of things that you may or may not know, Dr. Dan, we have a report section, which I know you know about this. We just released another report in here based on requests from a large office in Texas asking for an inventory count report. And so this is there's a report at the bottom of this list which you can't see on the screen where you can use to count your inventory. So look for the count sheet in the report section, Dr. Dan. And the rest of these reports here, these are helpful in guiding your practice and into discovering and trends in your practice, managing your inventory. I know, Dr. Dan, you helped us guide some of our inventory estimation tools and reports in here. We have tools to estimate how much you should carry on hand. You explained it so much better than I ever do, Dr. Dan, at the seminar that what your business coach told you.
Right. So my business coach basically explained the concept is that you want to make sure you don't have too much inventory in the shelf, but you want to have enough for the patients. So the long story short is if you take your last 3 months, which is 12 weeks, and you divide that by 12, you know what your 1 week average sales is. Then if you multiply that by 2, then you can have 2 weeks on the shelf. If you order every week, in theory, you wouldn't get into back orders. So the whole conversation is you know, and that of course that's in theory because if all of a sudden like a huge virus comes and you want to have heavier amounts and so forth, that comes into play. But the ideal quantity estimates does that calculation for you, and you can actually filter out certain numbers below certain numbers. And the nice thing about it is that you can literally click on it and then it will update across all the supplements. So everything that you have. Now, before you get scared, the next thing was I said, Josiah, if we build this right into the program, we have to have a way for me to override it. So what we did is we created something, what do you call it, locked or something like that. So we lock the certain numbers. So there's certain products, like I have something that works really well for blood pressure, and I want it to be on the shelf, and I'm going to have a much higher quantity on the shelf than I would than maybe my sales is, because I never want to run out of that scenario. Okay, or you have a scenario where it's allergy season coming up, and so you're going to override the system and say, boom, I want to make sure I have 12 Allerplex on the shelf. So that kind of conversation where you can actually lock something out but still do the ideal quantity estimates each week before you place your orders. It keeps the the minimum amount of inventory, actually dollar amounts, sitting on the shelf not being sold. So that's the problem with nutrition is that we end up not knowing how much to order, and we just kind of have our front desk staff kind of estimate. Now we have a program that's literally telling us how to do it based on sales, and that's a powerful way to do it.
Thank you, Doc. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're going to kind of wind up. We could actually spend hours telling you about the system. I'm going to just kind of give you a quick overview, and then when that's over, we have some questions that we are going to have Dr. Kuehne help us answer, and Josiah is our IT director, and he will answer some of them also. But just in general, how will it help your office? For small offices, what we're finding is that the one-man office can look and feel as professional and streamlined as larger offices that have staff. And we're fond of saying that for $80 a month, it's like having a full-time front desk person handling your inventory handling your nutrition schedules, etc. The other thing that's beneficial to small offices is they can learn from doctors who have large practices and are using supplements a lot. It minimizes your staff hours. What's happening, because there's no paper files or filings, there's no files lost. Nobody has to figure out bottles needed, pricing, or discounts. Inventory is updated and reorder recommendations are made for you. Professional nutrition patient printouts. It's less time, less effort to check out patients. You can use it anytime, anywhere, from any device. There's a smoother flow at the front desk. And Nutralysis just simply enables you to help more patients and recommend more supplements. So if you're interested in getting started today, the cost is $195 to get started. However, those of you who attended the seminar, there's $50 off for those who attended the seminar, and start by Monday, June 20th. That $195 does include your startup month at no extra cost. It's $80 a month after that. If you wish to add the scheduling module, it's $20 a month for the scheduling module. So if you would like to get started tonight, there will be someone to help you get started, and you can do it simply by going to nutrls.com/sign-up. And we will be here for the next little while, so if you have questions, we will be available to answer questions. But now we've had some really great questions come in during the course of this, and so we would like to answer those questions.
Now, the first question I'm going to answer real quick here is, I had somebody ask if you're going to view the nutrition schedules for side by side to see what may have changed. And I'll be glad to show you that personally if you want to talk with us. Though I can tell you the answer for that is that you can pull up the changes made to the nutrition schedule, and you can look at them in a vertical format on the side by side. So it does track the changes in nutrition schedules very carefully, and all the historical data is recorded in the program. Now, Dr. Kuehne, I have a question that I'd like to throw your way.
Okay.
A practitioner writes in and says, he asks, what is your ideas on integrating a busy chiropractic office with Nutralysis?
Okay, so a couple things. I mean, if we made the person live, I might get a better sense of the question. But the long story short is that whenever you're integrating a chiropractic office and nutrition, there's a couple ways to go about it. One way is that you separate out a time for nutrition. So in other words, Stuart's recommendation is you pick something like a day that you may not be seeing chiropractic patients, Thursday afternoon, and you start to learn and do some nutrition in there and spend some time, because you may be in a place where you flow. I don't know what your flow is. Like, I see a patient every 15 minutes. You might see a patient every 5, whatever the your normal speed is, right? But so it will take something whenever you add nutrition, regardless if you have the program. It will take something of it's a little bit of an abrupt slowdown. Now, assuming, because I'm not with you, that you're already doing some nutrition. So then the question is, like, you're doing some nutrition in here and you've been doing it on paper, and now you're wanting to transfer it to here, then the whole conversation is this is going to speed you up. But as, I'm never lie to anybody. I always tell them the truth. As anything, and you've done this before in your practice, when you transition to something, there's a learning curve. So, like, if you started to try to do Nutralysis side by side with me, I would be twice as fast as you, maybe even more, because I know the program, I know where to go, I know what to do, and so forth. So my recommendation is you pull in Nutralysis in a place where you would not be quite as fast, not needing to be like, in a race mode, and start to play with it a little bit. Or, there's a demo office you can, fool around with, and you can make a whole bunch of changes. What I did is I put a test patient in, like I just called it Mr. Test or whatever, and so then I literally I would just go home and I would just play with all sorts of different things so I'd know where it was and how to play and how to do it. Because, the way to do it is you can either have an iPad in the room or a computer in the room. I'm a mouse man. I don't really like to fool around with the iPad when I'm with patients. So I have a computer in the room and I move around with the mouse real fast, click, 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 and go. Now, we didn't talk about this tonight, but I even put, if you were a cash practice for chiropractic, we put a basic travel card in there which literally has every technique and what all the different subluxations, and you can even type extra manual notes in there and stuff. And it's a real pretty efficient way to take your notes. So you just scroll down, click, click, click. What did I do? What did I do? And boom, and now you're on to the next patient. So I've even integrated it so that I am now 100% paperless since starting January. So it is feasible to use it in a busy practice. It's just a question of really how are you going to do nutrition in the busy practice. That's the real question.
That sounds great. We haven't had any follow-up questions to that, so I appreciate your answer on that, Dr. Kuehne, and I think it sounds like you made your answer very nicely applicable to everybody's situation. I think that works well. If anybody else has any more questions, you're welcome to give us a call at 248-206-3655. And I just thank you for everybody for spending your time with us here tonight. We will be recording this and sending out a recording link here. Dr. Kuehne, do you have any final thoughts or any closing remarks you'd like to add?
Yeah, and it may be obvious to some, but it may not be obvious to others. This program is integrated throughout my practice. So in other words, it's in my room when I'm serving the patients. It's in my front desk. I mean, it's in the cloud, but there's they access it from another computer at the front desk to check out and get the supplements and to literally, it's called a packing list, so that they get the supplements and they say whether it's on back order or whether we have it and so forth. It tracks the back orders, which was the biggest problem we had in whole health, and now all of the back orders are completely tracked. And so when we go to place our reorders, it tells us how much to order based on what our ideal quantity is, plus any back orders that are going on. So like it's really integrated the front office as well as the back office. And the other piece of the puzzle is there's more to come. So you're doing the scheduling, and then there's going to be more to come to be, in the ability to check out, not just supplements. So it is really turning into a program that started as a nutrition program. Honestly, the way to record and have to use less handwriting to now it's really becoming a program that allows you to just completely be paperless and do the whole project in one place.
And I'm glad you said that, because I do know that our office used to have Post-it notes literally everywhere. Back orders, reminders to call patients for refills, reminders to call patients for appointments. All of this is done online now, and we have never lost a file since we started using Nutralysis. So some of the aggravations of trying to maintain sometimes it felt like trying to keep a lot of plates twirling. And those aggravations are no longer part of running the nutrition practice. So Dr. Kuehne, I really appreciate what you have to say about this. In our own office here in Michigan, we have seen a 24% increase in the sale of nutrition products and an increase in our nutrition patients since we've been able to streamline like this. And what we're seeing across the board is that offices who use this regularly for their nutrition patients are seeing remarkable things happen. They're seeing less time having to be spent, more getting done in the same amount of time. And so we thank you very much, Dr. Kuehne, for being on the call tonight, and we appreciate all of you who've been with us tonight, and we appreciate your interest in Nutralysis.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kuehne, for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.